All right. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to begin today's live stream because we got a new tea today. Let's see. Oh, wrong one. All right, so we got Tyler here, we got Mike, Traveling Suitcase, Ivan, Thomas, and Steven. Steven's from the UK. Hello, Steven. Ivan's from Cape Town, South Africa. Awesome. So, today... So today... I am trying out a tea I haven't tried before. It is called Lady Grey. And so, so the only teas I've tried before were English breakfast, Earl Grey, and Irish breakfast. So this one I ordered a couple days ago because some people had recommended it to me. I try to stick to British teas as much as I can because that's what the tea service is for. It's a Cunard tea service. Cunard is British, so yes, so I have that. And then today I made some crumpets, homemade crumpets. Let's see, this thing is there, put that there. Anyway, so yeah, homemade crumpets. I didn't put any jam on them. For some reason, every single time I have the ingredients to make the crumpets and then I make them, I forget to buy jam. So yeah, butter but no jam. And then I make homemade Scottish shortbread. So I have Scottish shortbread here, and then I also have McVitie's chocolate covered digestives. So I am all prepared for a good afternoon tea. This Lady Grey tea, let me tell you, is so cool because when I opened the box, it smelled so good. It smelled like lemon peels on a rainy day in a flower garden. It was so good. I was like, I'm so excited to try it because of that. So we'll see. So I'm just doing my usual preheat method. Oh, I shouldn't have poured all that out. Too soon for that. You gotta pour half of it out. There we go. And half of that. So this is original Cunard china from the 1950s and 1960s. From aboard ships like RMS Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth, Sylvania. Some of it probably dates back to Mauretania too. The second Mauretania, I mean. So, because it's actual china, it has to be preheated. Because on a cold day like today, the thermal shock could crack it. So, alright. Let's see. Hey Everett, how's it going? Good afternoon. Hey Element, how's it going? That's okay, Neon. Hey little gamer, that's awesome. It's so weird to wake up and all of a sudden have a cat. Yeah, Ozzy. Chris went home several days ago. So, hey Keith, how's it going? Let's see. Steven, so I have been told some conflicting stuff, but what I do is I do tea first and then milk. So I'm especially going to do that today because I want to try the tea first as it tastes without milk, just to know what the base flavor is. And then if I think that milk will work with it, I'll put the milk in. Earl Grey is one of those teas where I can have it without cream, or milk, I mean, but I still prefer milk in it. But I have a feeling about this Lady Grey tea that I might actually like it without. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Luke. How's it going, Luke? Mike says, how cold is it? It's, for the Pacific Northwest, not that cold. It's 57 degrees Fahrenheit today, which is pretty normal. Pretty normal. Although I will say this is actually spring/summertime, so you would expect warmer temperatures like 70 or 75. So I guess it isn't all that normal. It is a bit colder than usual. But it's weird. We've been having, like, cold spells off and on. Right now what's going on is, I'm going to be a meteorologist here for a second. Right now what's going on with the United States is that there's this heat wave that's striking the southwest of the United States. And then up here in the Pacific Northwest, there is a, they call it an atmospheric river. It's where a whole lot of cold air and rainy weather comes and hits us, and so it's unseasonable for this time of year. But yeah, so right now we're enjoying the atmospheric river. At least I am. I moved up here because I love the rain and the cold, and the snow and and the trees and the forests. So, but I know a lot of natives here. They prefer warmer weather. So. Let's see. Don't worry, Oz, I won't burn my fingers. Steven says, no, it depends on the quality of the china. Some tea should be taken without anything. So as for the quality of the china, this is a... yeah, it... as far as I'm aware, or as far as I know... I preheat the china to make sure that it doesn't crack when I pour the tea in there. That's my biggest fear, is because this stuff is vintage, and so I preheat it first, so I don't worry about, like, I heard that the reason why they do milk first is to prevent the china from cracking from the thermal shock. That's what I heard. So the fact that I preheat all this stuff, it doesn't affect that. But I could be wrong about the purpose for milk first. But I do know that today I really wanted to try the tea without milk first, so that way I know what it tastes like. Because the other reason too is that I noticed. Depending on the type of milk I use, it will actually make the flavor of the tea completely disappear. Like during my last tea time, I was trying this new dairy-free milk because I am really lactose intolerant. And with that milk, I put it in, and the flavor of the tea just completely disappeared. So when I refilled the cup later on, I didn't even put any of that milk in there. All right. So 5 minutes on that. So that'll be 4:13. There we go. Oh gosh. Oh good, I'm correct about that. I wasn't sure because I hear all kinds of stories and stuff, Like, but yeah, I do preheat the stuff, just because I'm so nervous about cracking it one day. But yeah, so should be fine. I'm also gonna pour out some of this. Tyler, you're going to have 90-degree weather in Indiana? Oh my gosh. Element says 110 degrees in Olympia. Olympia. In Washington? Yeah, I know last year we had this really crazy heat wave. It was like temperatures the Pacific Northwest had never seen before. It was 115 degrees in Portland, and you don't see that kind of weather up here. I mean, it gets warm. It gets, the average temperatures for summertime in the Pacific Northwest is usually around 80 to 85 degrees. That's nothing compared to when I lived in Southern California, which could easily get to 100 degrees. But last year in Portland, when it got to 115 degrees, it was so unbelievably hot. And all these plants and everything, like, just died that day. I went outside later that night, and, like, all the plants were wilting and stuff. It was crazy. The leaves on the trees were crispy. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen before. And it's all because all the forest plants here are not used to that kind of dry, hot heat. Little Gamer says 90 degrees, pathetic. Yesterday we got 102. Yeah. Linda says, hi Alex, did Chris go back to California? He did, yes. I think he's currently still on his way over there. So, yeah. So, but it was cool to hang out with him because he was here for a couple hours, and then we took a walk. We went to a nearby store, and I got some snacks or whatever. And then we came back. We prepared for the tea time, and we did the tea time, and it was really cool because Chris really likes the cucumber sandwiches that I make for tea. So I showed him how to make it, and then I made them for him. Yeah, so, and I ran out of ingredients doing that, so that's why today I don't have cucumber sandwiches. I went with crumpets instead. So for those who are just tuning in, homemade crumpets. I know the light kind of makes them unusually bright, but they're basically, for my American friends, they're basically like, if you can imagine an English muffin, but softer, like a pancake, but it has the same flavor. And then the top side, you don't flip it over halfway through like you would with a pancake. Instead, you let it kind of cook, and the top will open up with all these bubbles. And so it's the same idea with an English muffin. You put the butter and the jam. You do the same thing for this, but like I was saying, for some reason, every time I decide to make crumpets, I always forget to buy the jam. And so I have it with butter, but no jam. So weird. All right, see you later, Mike. Oh, it's tea time, folks. This lid is always so hot. Oh, ouch. Ow. Okay, I give it a little bit of a stir to make sure that all the flavor is well incorporated into the tea. Don't want any of that flavor to go to waste. All right. Now, boy, that's a really nice kind of red color. Pour this out. That's a really hot cup. And now we pour. This is burning my hand, let me just tell you. Now, I know there is an etiquette to only pouring the teacup halfway. I know, some folks have told me. But this teacup is smaller than a normal teacup. I would say it's about only 2/3 the size of a regular teacup at most. Maybe even just half size. So I almost feel like if I only poured the tea halfway into the cup, that it would just get cold so fast. And I would have to like just drink it like a shot glass of, of gin or something because it's so small. So I fill it 3/4 the way, and then what I do is I put some sugar. But first, before I put any sugar, I want to know the flavor. Although it is probably boiling hot right now. I'll wait a few seconds because that is really hot. I can barely even hold the handle. Okay, so let's see. Oh yeah, we get a lot of humidity up here, but it's funny, we get high humidity in cold weather. So like in the wintertime, you'll see it'll be like 35 degrees outside, which is cold for here. That's just a few degrees over freezing. And there'll be like 95% humidity. So yeah, we get, but yeah, because it's cold humidity, it's not so terrible. Okay, so let's see what people are saying. There are no cucumbers at the market, sir. I went down twice. That's a reference to the importance of being earnest. I haven't seen it, unfortunately. Evan Scott says, "Hi Alex, can't wait for November to come." I know, me too. That's when the RMS Queen Mary will likely reopen. So, gosh, I'm so excited for that. I can't wait to see the ship again. Hey Alex, will you do a video about the Collins line? I don't know what that is. I'll have to do some research. Luke Michael B says, "Do you like the SS Normandy?" I appreciate the SS Normandy's architecture and design and engineering. Would I want to stay several days aboard the ship? No. I'd probably, if it was still existing today, I'd walk aboard for a day. I'd take some videos, take some pictures, you know, experience the ship, and then I'd walk off because it's not my favorite. The style is a bit too much for me. Tyler says, "I didn't like the green in Queen Mary's observation lounge." Oh yeah, yeah. When it was in the '70s, when it was painted like an aqua green or something like that. Yeah, I know what you mean. Hello, Logan. Little Gamer says, "Got any fresh dill?" No, unfortunately, I don't have any ingredients to make the cucumber sandwiches today. That's why I went with crumpets instead. Oh, that's interesting. This doesn't taste anything like it smells. Let's put some sugar and see what happens. I have these little demi-toss spoons, so I usually put 1.5 spoons of sugar in there. Okay, a little bit better. Now let's put the milk. You guys remember when I first did these live streams and then I always spilled the milk out of that thing, and I just discovered that the way to do it is you have to have the courage of your convictions just to pour the milk and then, you know, otherwise you'll spill it everywhere. Okay, so let's see now. That's interesting. So the milk... So the tea... Where do I begin? So like I said, when I opened the box, it smelled so good. It smelled like lemon peels on a rainy day in a flower garden. When I tasted it without any milk or sugar, it was very bitter. Very bitter. And you could taste the lemon, but it was a very bitter citrusy lemon. I added the sugar, and that added a sweetness to it, which made the bitterness not so harsh. And I was like, okay, that's a little bit better. I added the milk, and that dulled down the bitterness to the point where now you can really taste the lemon peel, and it almost tastes like there's like jasmine or something. Yeah, it's really good. But I will say, it's weird. When I first opened the box and I smelled it, I said, this is probably going to be my favorite tea from now on because it smells so dang good. But I will say, while it is still good with the cream and the milk, I'm sorry, the cream and the sugar, it's still good, but I still prefer Earl Grey more than this. Weird. Let's see. Steven says, R.E. the Normandy, a lot of people of the time thought she was OTT and over the top. I think that's what that means, over the top. And then preferred the Mary in some respects, though the Lizzie was more Normandy than her sister. You know, it's funny that some people believe that the RMS Queen Elizabeth was a bit more fancy than Queen Mary, because when you look at other areas of Queen Elizabeth, she doesn't match Queen Mary's beauty, like the style. And that's why ultimately Queen Mary is my favorite of the two ships of between, you know, Lizzie and Mary, is because Queen Mary is just a little bit more ornate than Queen Elizabeth was. So, that's not to say Queen Elizabeth was not good looking. She was very beautiful, a very beautiful ship. So, Steven says, tea, try adding honey. Okay, I'll have to buy a bottle of honey. I don't have any with me. Wow asks, hey Alex, what is your favorite ship of the 1870s or 1880s? 1870s or 1880s, I would probably have to say... I know so very little about them, so I'll just be honest right now. When it comes to the ships of the 1870s and 1880s, I know so very little about them. I would have to choose the original Oceanic. That being said, I don't even know when Oceanic launched, so I couldn't even tell you if that is an 1870s or 1880s boat, but I'm guessing it is. So I'll just have to give you that because I know so very little about the ships from that particular era. Scudster says, I think it is meant to be drunk without milk. Twinings used to make Queen Mary tea, which is the blend of Darjeeling and Kuman. Yeah, you know, this might be meant to be drunk without milk, but I couldn't drink it without milk. Earl Grey I can drink without milk. That's fine. Earl Grey is wonderful without milk. In fact, one day I'll buy some lemons and I'll have it with lemon instead because I heard some people do that. But this tea, I most certainly couldn't do it without milk. Yeah, I can't. It's too bitter. It's really, really bitter. As for the Queen Mary tea, I don't know if you're talking about the tea that was provided on the RMS Queen Mary, or if you're talking about the actual, like, Queen Mary tea that's available on Amazon right now, because I have a box of that up on my shelf. It's a Queen Mary tea. I don't recall if the box even says what company made it, but it is currently sold on Amazon. Darag says, can I ask what you think of the SS Great Britain? I haven't been there. I want to. Eventually when I visit the UK, that's one of the places I'm going to stop and see. But I will admit I haven't been there. So I couldn't tell you what I think of it. Yeah, Tyler. Some people think you can die in quicksand, but I mean, if you know what you're doing, you can get out of it. Vivid Racer says, "Hey man, good to see you again. I have a question. Which ship are you more sad about rusting, the Queen Mary or the SS United States?" Well, I mean, Queen Mary isn't really rusting, not to the degree United States is. But I mean, I'm not really worried about either of those two ships. They're built so well. I'm really not worried. The OG Oceanic is an 1870 ship. Oh, okay. I chose correctly. Hello, ocean liners in history. Or I should just call you ocean liners. Scudster says, no, it was discontinued 10 years ago. You can get empty tins on eBay. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. But yeah, you can. But there is a different brand. Then there's a different brand that must have taken up the mantle, because they still sell it on eBay, and they're still producing. It's, you know, like I said, probably under a different brand, but it's a Queen Mary tea. Here, I'll go get the box. What brand is it? Product of Sri Lanka. It's a Ceylon tea, which I'm guessing is a breakfast tea. It says Metropolitan Tea. I think that's the company, Metropolitan Tea. But this is one you can still buy on eBay. And it comes in a little wooden box, as you can see. And the top of the box, it opens, you know. I drank all the tea that was in here. It's pretty good. I prefer Twinings over this. But it's still a cool little collector's item to have. Ozzy asks, did Chris put sugar in his tea and milk? He didn't put milk. He had we had Earl Grey tea when he was here. And he drank it dark. He didn't put any milk, but he did have sugar in it. Let's see. Scudster. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've heard of that. I have a friend who manages to find some really rare Queen Mary artifacts on eBay. It's really cool. Vivid Racer, to answer your question. So the new Queen Anne is not really... Try to fix my collar. So the new Queen Anne is not really a ship that I find any interest in. It's got a design that isn't kind of like my taste. Like the current Cunard cruise ships that are around right now have this this Art Deco interior with a lot of either fake or real wood paneling, depending on what part of the ship you're in, and it's beautiful. But the Queen Anne is it's designed for the modern taste, and I'm not a fan of modern architecture or modern design, so it's just not my thing. WoW asks if I'll do a video about the Kaiser class ships. Maybe eventually. There's a lot of ships on my list to go through, but there's a lot more popular ships on my list at the forefront right now. Oh, Mark, that's pretty cool. I'm going to have to put my phone on silent because I can see it just keeps ringing from all these texts. All right. So yeah, I love making crumpets. It's actually really easy, but it's funny because I've offered it to people and they're just like, "Oh, that's okay." And I'm like, "Does nobody like crumpets?" But then again, this is America, so there's not really a culture here for tea and crumpets. Jeffrey, the Scottish shortbreads, they're pretty easy to make, actually. So basically, like, you combine a bunch of dry ingredients, you whisk those up to make sure they're perfectly combined, and then you cut a bunch of butter into the mixture, and then... Is that it? Yeah, that's it. There's no liquids. It's just flour, sugar, salt, and butter. It's literally 4 ingredients. And then you mix those together. If you have a food processor, that makes it go so much faster and quicker. In fact, the recipe recommends a food processor, but I don't have a food processor. And frankly, people have been making Scottish shortbreads since before food processors were ever invented. So I do them by hand. I just squish the dough until all the butter is incorporated into the dough, and then you push it into a 8x8 or 8-inch by 8-inch. If you're in a different country, then it'll be a different measurement. But here it's an 8-inch by 8-inch square pan. I push that down into it, and then you bake it. And my recipe says to bake it for 15 minutes, but it takes about half an hour for me to bake the thing. So, and it comes out really nice. It's super fluffy, like really, really fluffy, despite being made by hand. So it's really easy. It's just, you know, the part about mixing the ingredients together, it does take a little bit of time if you don't have a food processor. Well, Vivid Racer, I mean, I think what it is that Cunard's identity has kind of changed over the years. They kind of became famous for their queens, you know, and so they kind of decided that's the branding they want to go with from now on. You know, they decided that what will really set them apart, because what's always set Cunard apart was their queen ships. And so I think they realized, they're like, you know what, if we just create a fleet of queen ships, you know, it'll really set us apart. And I think it has. It's been a good marketing scheme. But otherwise, I think, but the other thing too is I think the reason why they don't really do the other ships with the IA names is because it just makes them look like just another cruise company with all these ships named similarly. I mean, granted, yeah, with all their ships being named Queen something, you know, then it does make them seem a bit, but they're really the only company that has ships named with Queen in front of it. So maybe I'm just babbling, but let's see. Palte, I don't know about, I don't keep up with SS United States news. Oh, that's pretty funny, Tyler. Yeah. I actually really like the Downton Abbey show. It's funny because for so long I was avoiding watching it because I was like, oh, this is just some drama. It's just going to be a bunch of drama. And I wasn't wrong. It is entirely about drama, but it is so cultured. I ended up really liking it. I watched the entire show, and I think like 2 of the movies, or 1 of the movies, or I don't know how many movies are out, but the newest one, I want to see the newest movie. So we'll see. Maybe if it comes to Amazon Prime, I'll watch it. But I became a big fan of Downton Abbey. So Dangerous Brian says, any plans for you to go see Jurassic World Dominion in the cinema? Basically, no. So, you guys might laugh. I encourage you to laugh and not take this offensively. But, so I grew up with Jurassic Park. It's been my favorite series of movies my whole life. And you know, like the first original movie, can't beat it. But in 2015, when the first Jurassic World came out, I went to go see it in theaters. I got maybe halfway through it before I hated it so much. I just hated it so much. I hated everything about it. I did not like it. It did not feel like a Jurassic movie. It did not feel like a good movie. So I walked out. I walked out of the theater. I didn't ask for my money back. I'd already been there for more than half the movie or something like that. Not even, actually. I'm pretty sure I walked out in the first third of the movie. But I didn't want to ask for my money back. I didn't think that was fair, you know, but I did walk out and I went home. I was really upset. I thought the movie was so bad. And that was was that the first? Yeah. That was the first movie I've ever walked out on in my life. And yeah, that was pretty... Yeah. So I went home and I didn't watch the rest of the movie until maybe a year later. It was on... it was on, like, one of the streaming services or something, and I thought, well, it's here, I don't have to pay for it, I'll just watch it. And I watched it, and I didn't like it. You know, I watched it all the way through, didn't like it. And then the second Jurassic World, I didn't even plan to go to the theater, because I knew it was going to be worse than the first one. So I didn't go. And I waited several years before I actually saw it. I think the first time I saw Jurassic World Dominion was probably last year, I think. And I watched it and I was like, oh, I did not like it. It confirmed what I was afraid of. It was worse than the first one. So I have no plans to go see the third one at all. I probably won't have any plans to even attempt to watch it, because I attempted the first two ones and I was so disappointed. And then this third one, I have no plans to watch it at all. I might even try to avoid it, in fact, because it would just put me in a really bad mood. So, yeah, that was, yeah, these past Jurassic World movies, not my thing. Stephen Hemingway says, what set Cunard apart was the service. I have traveled on them a few times. The problem is that for Cunard to work, everyone has to respect the service. For example, dressing for dinner. Oh yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, I can agree with that. You know, it's funny because I don't see myself as like a cruising person, you know, like I've had friends that are like, hey, you know, you want to try to like save up and, you know, go in on like a cruise or something like that and just have fun. And I'm always just like, I don't see myself going on cruises, but I do want to take a transatlantic crossing on Queen Mary too. And I think the reason why is because Cunard they don't do things the way other cruise companies do. Cruise companies, in my opinion, they can be really cheesy, and I don't like the idea that I'm just, you know, spending a few days in a glorified casino. But Cunard's ships do not feel that way. Cunard's ships feel very much classy and sophisticated, and everything is calm, and everybody is having enjoying a good time, reading books, watching seminars, having tea. You know, it's like it sounds great. It sounds like something I would do. So if I were to take a cruise, it would definitely be with Cunard, and and with the transatlantic crossing on Queen Mary 2, I intend to go to the UK and film some locations there as well, to make some history videos out of. So that's kind of my thing, but I do not see myself going on any other cruise line. Fun Edits asks if I watch Netflix. I used to, but then I recently stopped my Netflix service because it was really expensive. It was like, they were like, oh, now we want $20-something. And I'm like, no, okay, I'm done. And so I quit the Netflix service. Because I almost couldn't find anything to watch, oddly enough. I had a few shows that I was into, but they were all coming to an end. So there was no reason for me to renew, you know. Mark says, the 2 times I sailed with Cunard, it was jacket tie formal night every night. I liked that. In recent years, though, they relaxed it. Not too much, I hope. Yeah, my friend Chris, he's the one that we were planning on going on our transatlantic trip. We talked about the formal nights and, you know, how much we're looking forward to doing those and stuff like that. So, yeah, it sounds really exciting. I'll have to buy like a tux or something. I don't have anything that formal in my closet, like nothing at all. So I'd have to buy something new. Fun Edit says, if you do, there's a movie called High Seas. Oh, I know the TV show. Yeah. I tried to get into it. I've watched like maybe 5 episodes, but I can't get into it. Yeah. Well, they didn't film the show on the Queen Mary. Like, nothing in the show is Queen Mary at all. I think the closest thing is the exterior of the ship looks a lot like Queen Mary, but it's not. And I originally watched the show because people were telling me, "Oh, they filmed it on Queen Mary. They filmed the exterior of Queen Mary," and I watched and it wasn't, like, not a single thing. The only image of Queen Mary that appeared in that entire show was in the first episode, when they're driving up to the ship, and then that was it. It was like a still image taken at Long Beach, and then that was it. But the rest of the show is entirely made up. Like, so there was no none of the interiors were filmed, so I was a bit disappointed by that. But as for the show itself, I was excited to watch it because it looked interesting. But I watched, I think, 5 or 6 episodes. It just didn't catch my interest. Yeah, Brian, I agree. Mark says, Cunard ships are very elegant, and the White Star service is exquisite. My description of my precious days aboard is in one word: impeccable. Oh, nice. See, that makes me excited because I am looking forward towards that. It's like I said, it just feels very dignified. Like I look at other cruise companies and it doesn't feel dignified at all. It definitely feels like a large party bus, and I'm not that kind of person. So, but Cunard ships, they have everything I want. So, I am excited to try that out someday. Ocean Liners asks, how do people climb into ships' crow's nests? Well, with the larger ships like Queen Mary or Titanic or anything like that, the inside of the mast is hollow, and so usually in one of the decks beneath the topmost deck of the area where the mast is, there, like on Queen Mary, for instance, you'd have to go to B deck, I think it is. Either A deck or B deck. And then the mast is down there. That's the bottom of the mast. And then there's a hatch, and you go inside, and then there's a ladder that goes all the way up to the top where the crow's nest is. And so that's how you get in with ships like that. With older sailing ships, you climb from the outside. Luke asks if Britannic could be raised. I mean, anything is possible with enough money, but it's not likely at all. At all. Oceanliners asks what happened to SS Ile-de-France. I don't know off the top of my head. Matrix says, have you seen Top Gun? I've seen the original movie. I don't have plans to see the new one. Actually, it's kind of funny. One of my cousins appeared in the original Top Gun movie. Just listed as an extra, but yeah. Zom Games says, do you think Oceanliners will make a big comeback anytime soon? No, I mean, in every live stream I end up saying the same thing, that my thought on that is that if in 10 years if the airline industry gets busier and busier and more expensive, it's possible that the wealthier class of people will not want to use airlines to get to other continents when they're going on vacation. They might decide to use ocean liners to get there, since they're not in a hurry and it's more convenient. But that is just a very specific scenario in which I see a small, tiny little niche comeback for ocean liners. Otherwise, I do not see a big comeback at all for ocean liners, because nobody needs them. And, you know, and airplanes are still the fastest way to get places, so... That's a lot of cousins, ocean liners. All right. It's weird to think that, like, there was a time when people were sitting on an ocean liner, on a Cunard ocean liner, sipping tea and having some snacks just like I am with this exact same tea service. Ile-de-France was purchased by the movie producer and sunk for the final scene of the movie The Last Voyage. Oh, that's the ship that was sunk for a movie. Okay. Yeah, Brian. It's actually, there's a funny story. So, a former crew member of Queen Mary, Ralph Rushton, he said that he once climbed up to the crow's nest during a North Atlantic storm. Sorry, my shirt keeps trying to choke me. He once climbed to the top of the crow's nest during a North Atlantic storm, and he said that you would imagine when you go to the crow's nest during a storm and the ship is rolling, you imagine that it would feel like you would look down and you would see, you know, you would see yourself swinging over the ship back and forth. He said, but the actual experience is a bit different. You wouldn't think of it, but he said he described it as it looked as if the ship was at the end of a pendulum swinging beneath the crow's nest. So he said it was very odd, and it was very I can't think of the words he used, but just it was very odd, and so I can imagine that being a really strange sight to see. Oshliner says, I'm going to 5th grade. Awesome. Scuzster says, we used to have the Astoria, Stockholm, doing cruises only a few years ago. Yeah, that part I know. Fun Edit says, Queen Mary is my favorite ship because the 3 funnels give it a good look, and it's so beautiful when it was crossing the Atlantic back in the day. I agree. Steven says the Ile-de-France post-war had fittings from Normandy. Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. All right. Zom games, I feel like so many people talk about SS United States. I really don't have much to say about SS United States. I mean, you know, it's not one of my favorite ships. I don't follow its news. You know, I really don't know much about what's happening to it at the moment. All I know is that I don't believe that... so I have to be careful what I say, because there are some people working really, really, really hard to try to save SS United States. And I know what it's like when there are people who are trying to convince everybody that the ship you love is not salvageable. So even though I'm not a fan of SS United States, I don't want to hinder their efforts. But I will say it is very difficult. It is very, 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 very difficult to find a company or an individual who will do something with the SS United States, because it is so gutted and its original features are gone. And while it is empty and it is kind of like a blank slate to work with, it's almost like that blank slate is part of the reason why it's not that valuable anymore. Let me put it another way. It's like a painting. You know, let's say if it was a valuable painting, and, you know, and people want to preserve it, but the problem is the paint has all flaked off. Is it really still a painting if the paint is gone? Sure, you have the canvas, but the canvas wasn't what people fell in love with. They fell in love with, you know, the order of the paints and the way it was brushed onto the canvas. So if it's missing its paint, is it really worth it to restore the painting? So that's kind of what's going on with SS United States right now, is that, yeah, you still have the metal left behind, but people didn't fall in love with the metal. They fell in love with what was inside the metal, what was, you know, what was making up the interiors of the ship, and most of those things are gone. So, you know, these larger companies that have occasionally expressed interest in restoring the ship, they eventually face kind of the same problem. How do you market it as a historic ship that you've brought back from the brink when there's really nothing historic left on it? So it is kind of a conundrum. Matrix says, have you seen the SS Poseidon model? Yes, there are several of them. I've seen one of them. For WoW's question about why you would choose a plane over an ocean liner, because it's faster, frankly. Some people have to get somewhere very quickly, and you know, I'm never usually in that much of a hurry, but there are people who, they have very important jobs, they have to get places, they have to take an airplane. So, you know, the other thing too is that ocean liners can be really quite expensive. You know, take Queen Mary 2, for example. You know, if you want to go across the Atlantic on Queen Mary 2, you're paying at least twice the amount you would for an airplane ticket, and you're arriving there 7 days longer, 7 days longer than it would take, you know, to get that. Now, I know Queen Mary 2 can get across the Atlantic in 4 days. I know, but it doesn't. It takes 7 days because of its current schedule and the way that they're running it. They're not running it at full speed. So it takes 7 days. So, you know, some people just can't, they can't afford to spend a week at sea, you know. So that's part of the reason why people don't choose ocean liners. They're just more expensive. Frankly, if ocean liners were cheaper than airplanes, I think you would see more people taking them. But I don't see a scenario where taking an ocean liner will be cheaper than taking a plane. I just don't see it, you know. Red 2PF says, what do you think of Concorde? I don't know. I don't know much about Concorde. Brian says, unfortunately, everyone is in a hurry these days. That is the problem. That is the problem. Life is so short. We should just all slow down and take what we have as an enjoyable pace. Very, very good words. I agree. Ocean liners, yeah, and they probably don't know what the definition of a sister ship is. So, let me see. Brian says you are simply saying it is in worse state to the Queen Mary. If you mean the difference between SS United States and Queen Mary, oh, see you later, Scudster. But Brian, if you're saying if I'm talking about the difference between Queen Mary and, see, my shirt is just choking me. It's hard to say worse state because they both are facing different issues. So Queen Mary is facing a future where if she's not cared for, her historic interiors can be lost. And we've seen some of them get lost over the years. Some of them have just been gutted or removed or something like that. So that's what Queen Mary faces. SS United States faces a whole different issue. SS United States already lost all its interiors. It's already gone. The problem it faces is who, if anybody, is going to step in and put those interiors back. So it's two totally different scenarios. I wouldn't say that one ship is facing a worse scenario than the other. It's just two very different scenarios. Mark Raymond says, the Concorde were retired. Yeah, I know that part. I just don't know enough about Concords to talk about them. Fun Edit says, why did the Queen Mary explode when it was in the movie Poseidon? Why did it explode? Well, keep in mind, it's just a movie, but the reason why it exploded is because the boilers were exploding. The boilers were exploding because, the ship flipped over, water was rushing in various areas. The boilers were upside down. The boilers are designed to maintain their pressure and their safety when they are sitting right side up, but when you put them upside down, their safety systems don't work the same way. So what ended up happening was, you can imagine the boilers on Poseidon were over-pressurizing and they finally exploded. So the other thing too is, with boilers, they have furnaces. The furnaces get so hot and they have to be covered in water in order to keep them cool. That might be different it might be a little bit different for Yarrow boilers, but all I know is that they're upside down. So something went wrong. They're designed to operate sitting upright. So when you turn them upside down, anything can happen. It's not hard to believe that they would have exploded. WoW says, if ocean liners can't come back, Alex, what about airships? I don't think so either. Airships are too slow. I don't see it happening. It would cost way too much money to take an airship as well. It would probably cost twice as much money to take an airship than to take an airplane, and it would be much slower. So I don't think that would ever. I don't think airships would ever come back, to be honest. At least ocean liners, they have a chance of coming back, but airships, not really. Thomas Brooks. Yeah, I agree. I would be a very happy person as well. Fun edits. I don't know. I watched the movie a couple months ago, but I forgot. I don't remember if the funnels fell off. I mean, they probably would have. If the ship flipped over, the funnels probably in real life would have come off. But I don't remember the movie. There's a scene on YouTube. You can Google it. Yeah, you can Google it. But if you look it up on YouTube, the scene's on YouTube. You can look at it. You see, yeah, Tyler says that the boilers, generators, and engines were not designed to hang upside down. Yeah. I would agree with that as well. You know, all that machinery is designed, you know, with gravity in mind going down. So when you make those things hang upside down, they're just not designed that same way. You know, I think of it in terms of like a steam locomotive. You can't operate a steam locomotive upside down because that's not the way it functions. You know, the fire in the firebox, the smoke won't be able to go anywhere because the smokestack goes up. So if the smokestack is down, the smoke won't be able to go anywhere. It'll choke out the fire. But worse than that is the water will go to the top of the boiler. If it was upside down, that would expose the crown sheet and other features of the boiler, and that would cause an explosion. So Yarrow boilers are a bit different, but I imagine it's the same idea. You can't operate them upside down. Thomas says, how formal are formal nights on Cunard ships today? Formal nights on Cunard ships require you to wear a suit and tie of some kind, usually like a tuxedo. So that's usually like a formal night. Like, you must have a tie. You must have either a bow tie or something, and most definitely a jacket. You can't wear anything even slightly casual to that. So as far as I know, Cunard's formal nights are still the most formal of any cruise line company. Boy, that is one really squeaky engine. Artupia says, have you seen the plan to build a full-size replica of SS Great Western in Bristol? No, I haven't seen that. Iron Legion says, which do you prefer better, SS Traffic or SS Nomadic? I've only seen a lot of images of Nomadic, so that's the only one I have to go off of. I can't picture SS Traffic in my head. I can only picture SS Nomadic. Why does Lusitania wreck look so different from the ship before it sank? Because it rotted away, and of course it probably got mangled once it hit the bottom of the ocean. So a lot of those things can change the features of a ship. Sinkings are very violent occurrences. They just completely rip ships apart and do horrible things. And then, of course, there's the shipwreck itself, which sits at the bottom of the ocean and continues to rot and fall apart. Wow, to answer your question, just so you guys know, WD-40 is not a lubricant. I know people use it as it, but it's not. WD-40 is a lubricant cleaner. So it means it cleans the oil off of something. So if you use WD-40 for something, you're not actually lubricating it, you're removing dirt and lubrication from it. So you still need to apply a lubricant afterwards. But no, WD-40 would not work for this because the part that's squeaking on the engine is a part that needs to have electrical connection. I don't want to put anything on there that will hinder the electrical connection. So it just so happens that the part that's squeaking is the part that needs to touch another electrical piece. So I'm worried about putting any kind of material on it, or else I'll ruin the engine. Because I won't be able to clean it off. If I put something on it, I won't be able to take it off again because of the way that it's built. I can't get in there and open it up, so... Iron Legion. Yeah, I figured Traffic is the same as Nomadic. That's why that's part of the reason why I couldn't choose, because I was like, I really don't know the difference. Would it be possible to raise Carpathia? I don't know, actually. I don't know anything about the Carpathia's condition underwater. I don't even know where she sank. Well, Tyler, it seems most people in the ocean liner community care more about the ships itself than the war graves. Brian says, talking about the squeaky train, I've only just noticed that you have it running in the opposite direction than you normally do. Yep. When you have it going in the same direction all the time, you can wear out all the parts on one side of the train and the tracks. So by running it in the opposite direction, you kind of wear it down more evenly. So I prefer having it go clockwise, but on occasion I will have to run everything counterclockwise. Carpathia sunk off the southern coast of Ireland. Oh, okay. Sounds a lot like what happened to, Oh, no. I'm thinking of Oceanic, but Oceanic sank off the coast of Scotland. Oh, NCC, you're planning a trip aboard Queen Mary 2 for summer of 2023. That sounds cool. Maybe I'll be able to go around that time, too. We'll see. Iron Legion, I suppose I would prefer Olympic. I don't like the way Britannic looked. Carpathia was torpedoed 3 times. Wow. Yeah, I don't imagine that would leave the Carpathia very structurally sound enough to raise it off the seabed. To Mark Raymond, yeah, they do, but it's like I was saying, that the problem with it is that it's not... Alright, I'll try to explain this. So, the wheels on the locomotive, all of them pick up power from the track. The back wheels, the trailing wheels as we call them, there's 4 of them, 2 axles. And what happens is, those wheels on that axle will pick up electricity, transfer it to the axle, and then the axle will transfer it to like a receptacle. It's like a what's it called? It's really oddly shaped. It's like it's enclosed. It surrounds the end of the axle. And so it's like it's holding onto the axle like this, but it's enclosed, so you can't get up into it. And those 2 things are rubbing against each other as the axle turns. And if I try to oil that, it will make it so it can't pick up electricity from that axle. Now, somebody has suggested that I use a conductive lubricant. However, what I'm afraid of is if I pick the wrong lubricant, or let's say the lubricant eventually gets dirty and needs to be replaced, I don't know that I can clean that out. Because of the special way that it's designed, you can't get in there. You can't get in there to clean it. So if I put something in there, I don't know for certain that it will ever be able to pick up electricity again, or that I'll ever be able to remove it from there. So that's part of the reason why I haven't done anything about it. Is because it wasn't designed so you can get in there and fix it. So that's what I'm kind of afraid of. That's why I haven't oiled it up, is because I need it to run. I need it to be, to have electrical contact in order for the train to keep running. Otherwise I risk the engine not running again. So... Well, like I just said, Mark, there is a lubricant that conducts electricity. But it's like I was saying, if I put the wrong thing in there, or if it gets dirty for some reason, I don't know that I can ever clean it out again. Because the way that it's designed, there's the end of the axle has like this club at the end of it. It's like a club. And then the conductive receptacle surrounds the club, and it creates a lot of like right angles in there. I don't know that I'll ever be able to clean that out because you can't get into it. You'd have to take a saw and saw it open, and I don't know that I could ever do that. So that's why I don't want to put anything in there, because I don't know that I'll ever be able to clean it out again if it gets dirty. Because eventually lubricants do get dirty. They get dirty from just daily use. So I'm afraid to put anything in there, or else I'll never be able to clean it out again. Hello, ScanFan. Iron Legion says, what brand of engine is that? This is a Bachmann. So it's a Bachmann 244T Forney style locomotive. Great. I've never personally been in Long Beach during the Grand Prix. I don't know how that particular event affects the Queen Mary. But there are certain events that are held just outside the Queen Mary. And those help to generate some money for the ship. Certain events are held outside the Queen Mary, but they don't help with generating money for the ship. It just depends on what event it is and who set it up and how they set it up. To Iron Legion. Yeah, I use Q-tips as well, but it's like I said, this is for the engine, and so it's not designed. It's got this really weird axle design I've never seen before, and I've had model engines since I was a small little boy. I've been fixing model engines myself since I was a little boy, and the back wheels on this locomotive are not like any I've ever seen before in my life. It's literally like there's a club. It's like a clubbed end to it. I don't have anything that is shaped that way. Like, I wish I did, but I don't have anything like if you can imagine that this is the axle and at the end of it has this thing at the end, right? It's like a ring. It's like a clubbed ring. And then what happens is the receptacle, whatever it's called, the part on the ends of where the journals would be, the receptacle surrounds it, encases it like that. And the problem is there's no opening. There's no way to get in there. There's nothing. Even if I tried to put lubricant against the axle, there's no telling that it will go inside that opening and actually lubricate the insides of it. So I'm not really sure. Like, it's not like anything I've seen before, and that's why I'm so reluctant to do anything about it unless I find instructions or something, which I haven't. I googled a couple of years back how to fix it. Couldn't find anything back then. Maybe something's turned up since, but God, my shirt keeps trying to choke me. To the owner's manual, no, I don't have it. The guy who sold it to me, it was a used engine, but he didn't keep the owner's manual. So, and I tried looking it up online a couple years back, but back then I couldn't find anything on it. Yeah. Well, it's not the buttons. It's the purple shirt underneath. There's no buttons. It's there's like something. Every time I move, it's pulling the shirt back and back, and it's like choking me. So. NCC says, you're in Portland, right? Whistle Stop Trains apparently does repairs. Yeah, I don't have a car. I can't get it around. I'm not in the city of Portland, like, proper. I just tell people I'm in Portland because it's just easier. I actually live way on the outskirts in another city, so I don't have a way to get around. Like, I don't even do grocery shopping in a grocery store proper. I always order online because that's the easiest way for me to get stuff, so... I'll eventually find a way to fix the squeak, you guys, but at the moment I don't have any money. I don't have a car. I don't have anything. It's just gonna have to stay the way it is for now. Let's see. Iron Legion. Yeah, eventually I'll do a video about Queen Elizabeth. I don't necessarily take requests only because well, basically I already have a list of stuff I plan to make. I'm not like, I don't have any, I'm not out of ideas. I have a whole lot. It's just that I do really thorough research because, well, I always get criticized for not having thorough enough research. So what happens is I eventually, like, I take weeks and weeks and weeks to try to research something. Like, the next video I plan to put out is about Oceanic, but I've been, as you guys know, you guys have been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks on it. I haven't put it out yet. It's because I'm trying to make sure I have everything in the video correct, because I end up getting, you know, a lot of people that say, oh, well, this isn't accurate, that's not accurate. I'm not the kind of person who just goes on Wikipedia and just, like, writes everything down. Like, I actually, like, do research, I buy books, I learn about stuff, so it takes a while to make history videos, like, a really long time, because I'm starting from nothing, you know, like, a lot of these ships, I've never read about them before, you know, like, take Oceanic, for example. I'm doing a video on Oceanic, but prior to doing this video, I didn't know a single thing about Oceanic. I only knew its name. And, so it takes weeks and months to research this stuff and get it right and you know, cross-reference and figure out what's going on and, you know, all the information. So eventually I'll have videos about most ocean liners, eventually. But it will take months, it'll take years. That's why I don't take requests, because it takes so long to make a video about an ocean liner. And if I took requests, everybody would be asking for me to make another of this and of that and of this and of that. So, no, it's okay, Iron Legion. It's just that I didn't want people to, like, read your comment and go like, oh, well, then I'm going to request my favorite ship. And, you know, I don't want people to start that, because I wouldn't be able to keep up with it. Right, 2Pip says, if you had the money, would you travel around interviewing surviving Queen Mary workers and passengers? It's hard to say, because I'm really not an interviewer. You know, like, I don't like giving interviews. I'm really more of a person that I like reading up on stuff, not so much being the person who writes it. You know what I mean? So I don't see myself doing that. If someone said to me, hey, Alex, you know, you're the only person I know that can do this for me. Here's a former crewman who worked on the ship. You're the only person I know that can do this. Can you please interview them? Then I'd be like, all right, I'll do it, because, you know, because you're struggling to find someone who can do it the way that you want it to be done. But voluntarily, no, I wouldn't be that kind of person. I remember a couple of years back when my channel was only focusing on Disney content. Someone had offered, they said, hey, I know all these original Disney Imagineers. If you come work for me, you can interview all of them. And I said, you know, that sounds great for most people, but I do not want to interview these people. I'm not an interviewer. And he was pretty shocked by that. He didn't think I would say that, but I did. I don't like interviewing people. It's not me. I'm not a journalist, you know, like I like reading up on history. I like reading up on people's stories and doing research, but I don't like giving interviews. So, Iron Legion says, do you collect only Bachmann engines? Because Hornby is good as well. As far as I know, Hornby hasn't made any ON30 scale equipment, so that's why I don't have any. As far as I know, the only ON30 scale equipment I've ever been able to find is all Bachmann. I've never found any other kind available. So that's the only reason why. But I'm not really much of a collector. I don't have money. I buy what's available, and if it looks like it matches my style. But the only thing that's been available is Bachmann products. So I don't really have much of a choice in what I buy. I just buy it because it fits the scale, you know. If you could go on any ship ever, what would it be? Mine would be Queen Elizabeth, last voyage to Florida. If you could go on any ship ever, it would be Queen Mary. Queen Mary, maiden voyage. Ocean Liner, yeah, I did read your comment, but I found it really weird because Queen Mary is a ship. A ship in Long Beach. Queen Mary would not be typing into my chat. So that's why I didn't answer. I was like, okay. Alright. Alright, folks. It has been 90 minutes since I started this live stream. I'm going to end it here because I do have to get back to doing some work. I'm editing together a really quick video for Tuesday. And then I'm going to try to continue working on my oceanic video the rest of the week. I always try to say, like, oh, I'll get the oceanic video out on Friday. But then what happens is something happens and I don't have the time to do it. So I'm not even going to tease you with when it's going to be ready. I'm just going to try. I'm going to keep trying to work on it. I'm doing a video about the 1899 oceanic. It's got a really interesting story, so I'm going to work on that. Like I said, I don't know when it'll be out. It'll be out when it's done, and when I think I have all the information correct. Then I'll put the video out, but I don't know. But yeah, so keep an eye out. Again, all my videos, I post them all on certain days. So you will always see videos on Tuesdays and Fridays, and then you will see live streams on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So it's always the same days of the week. Yeah, so let's see. And let's see. Tea times are on Wednesdays and Sundays. They are at 4 p.m. Pacific time, just so you guys know. Alright, folks, I will see you all next time. Have a good one.